All right, so moving on to the final segment, we're going to pivot over here to the world of college football. And in this next segment, I'll be sharing my thoughts on what I do believe are the biggest games heading into the college football season. So, starting off with the biggest game, one of the biggest games of the year, is going to be a week one matchup between Texas and Ohio State. Honestly, this matchup, it doesn't get much bigger than this. For week one, you'll have a Cotton Bowl rematch between Texas and Ohio State. Week one, right off the bat, an SEC versus Big Ten matchup. Now, it seems like Ohio State could be in trouble in this game against Texas, and I think they're heading into a tough matchup. I mean, yes, they are the reigning defending college football champions, but they did lose a lot of talent to the NFL draft, and they are stuck with two new coordinators because Chip Kelly, former offensive coordinator of the team, is now the offensive coordinator with the Las Vegas Raiders. And they did lose their defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles. He's now the new defensive coordinator for Penn State. They got a new starting quarterback. They had to rebuild their front seven. This team could take a little bit of time to figure things out of how their season's going to go on. And they play a very dangerous team, that Texas, that has a lot to prove and a lot to prove to, and not only in the SEC but around the country week one. I think this could be a bad matchup for Ohio State. They could lose this game by 10 points or more. They have a lot of question marks on both sides of the ball, offensively, defensively. We don't know how this new starting quarterback is going to look. I think Texas is going to be the favorites to win this game. But I do believe it could be a good game because Arch Manning has something to prove. Texas has something to prove. I think they're going to be looking for a huge statement win on the road against Ohio State in week one, this week one matchup between Ohio State and Texas. So I think that's going to be a good game, but I definitely have that one circled. Next game, it's another week one matchup, LSU versus Clemson. I think this is a great matchup. I think this is one of the best matchups of the year, LSU versus Clemson, with LSU going on the road. I like the quarterback matchup. You get a glimpse of the future, possibly for NFL Sundays, of Cade Klubnik versus Garrett Nussmeier. Two top five quarterbacks in the country battling against each other week one with a lot to prove. Good SEC versus ACC matchup. I'm excited to see how these two quarterbacks play them, but I'm also excited to see how Dabo Swinney will have this Clemson Tigers team looking this year. This is going to be a huge statement game, a huge statement test to see if Clemson is going to be contenders or pretenders next year. I think they've upgraded their wide receiver room, the defensive side of the ball, the offensive line. So this Clemson team looks like they're ready to compete. And the question is with Brian Kelly, the head coach of the LSU Tigers, this could be his last chance proving why he should be in Death Valley coaching this program, because are they going to be prepared to go on the road? And I feel like every Labor Day weekend, Brian Kelly and LSU always lose to a ranked opponent year in and year out since he's been the head coach of the LSU Tigers. And I honestly haven't seen them win the big one since Brian Kelly's been the head coach of the LSU Tigers. So they have a lot to prove to me if they're going to be contenders or pretenders, but they desperately need this win against Clemson on the road week one to win me over, to see if they're going to be a true contending team in the SEC conference this year. Next game on the list, Oregon versus Penn State. Now, I think this is going to be an interesting week 5 matchup. This is a rematch from the Big Ten championship game where Oregon defeated Penn State 45-37. Oregon hitting the road in the whiteout is going to be a phenomenal scene to watch early in the season. They're going to have some tests before they even get to this game. They got to play against Oklahoma State and Oregon State. But Penn State, they have some things to prove to me, because you're going to have the home field advantage, yes, but historically, Penn State has not done well against top 10, top 5 programs, top 25 programs on alone. James Franklin, their head coach at Penn State, struggled against top 25 teams. He has 17 victories and 26 losses against top 25 teams, a record of 4 wins, 20 losses against top 10 opponents. So it's wake up time. It's put up or shut up time for Penn State this year, in my opinion. Drew Aller, someone that could be one of the best quarterbacks in the 2026 NFL draft class, struggled against the big schools last year. Ohio State, Oregon, and Notre Dame had more turnovers, more interceptions than passing touchdowns against the best teams, when 0-3 against those respective programs as well. this could be one of those ramification games that could hurt them down the line if they fail to lose this game while at home against Oregon. And there could be some huge ramifications for how the Big Ten picture is going to play out based off of this game alone earlier in the season between Oregon and Penn State. Now, next game on the list, SEC matchup is going to be Alabama versus Georgia. Now, I think this is a really good Week 5 matchup. It's a rematch from their big game last year in 2024 where Georgia went on the road to Alabama. Now this year, the roles are going to be switched. It's going to be Alabama going on the road to Georgia. But I think this could be one of the best games in the SEC this year. Their matchup in 2024 ended up being the best matchup in the SEC, one of the best matchups in the SEC. And this time, it's going to be the rules are vice versa, like I just said. But Kalen DeBoer could go up 2-0 in the series against Georgia and Kirby Smart since being the Alabama head coach. Because remember, they knocked them off last year. There's a lot of question marks for this game. I'm looking at it. There's a new scenery at the quarterback position. We know Jalen Milroe was a mid-round pick drafted by the Seattle Seahawks. So now Alabama has their new quarterback in Ty Simpson against Gunnar Stockton, the new quarterback for Georgia. We got a glimpse of the future of what he looked like at the quarterback position once Carson Beck went down late in the season in the SEC championship game, and Georgia had to go through the duration of time with Gunnar Stockton at the quarterback position. But we'll see how this matchup looks. But I think there could be also some big ramifications in this SEC matchup based off of who could possibly make the SEC championship, playoff ramifications, because the SEC is stacked from top to bottom this year. Good teams of Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia, Florida, Texas, LSU. I mean, we are loaded from stacked top to bottom in the SEC. So I think this is going to be a big game. The final game second to final game I'll cover will be Texas versus Florida. I think this could be a fun game. I think this could be one of, if not the best matchup in the SEC this upcoming college football season. Fun quarterback matchup between DJ Lagway and Arch Manning. You get a glimpse of the future in the SEC with those two respective superstars matching up against each other. The Texas going to the Swamp on the road, I think that's going to be a hard test. Both of these teams are going to be battle tested, especially playing against big time competition. Texas going on the road against Ohio State week 1. Florida has to play LSU before they play Texas at home. So both of them are going to be testing the waters here before they match up against each other. A lot of people might not be paying attention to this matchup because it was Texas that did blow out Florida last year, even with DJ Lagway at the quarterback position, starting quarterback position. But both teams will be tested. I think this will be a really good game in the SEC by that time. And in the final game, Ohio State versus Michigan. I like this rivalry. I think it's the best rivalry in college football. Last year, it was a physical game. If you guys remember, it was a physical defensive matchup between Michigan and Ohio State. Michigan won that game by playing great defense and running the football. They won that game 13-10 on the road against Ohio State. But this has been a lopsided rivalry in the Big Ten lately. I mean, Michigan has won 4 straight games against Ohio State. That's crazy. And the aftermath of this game, it was Michigan that bullied Ohio State in their own backyard. If you guys remember, they put the Michigan Wolverine flag down on the O in the middle of the field after the game was done. And then that's when the brawl happened. You had players fighting each other. You had coaching staff trying to set it up. It was so bad to the point where the cops had to spray pepper spray in these players' eyes after the game was over. And there's the argument that Ohio State had a full 60 minutes to play physical and violent against Michigan, but they didn't get it done. So then you wanted to be physical and fight when the final whistle was already said and done. But bragging rights are definitely on the side for Michigan. This is, of course, going to be a late matchup as usual between the teams. I want to see how Michigan looks this year. I'm definitely intrigued to see how Ohio State will look down the stretch. A lot of question marks on their new starting quarterback. Two new coordinators, offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, revamped their front seven. So I want to see how this matchup looks, and I want to see if Michigan truly win 5 games in a row against Ohio State. But those are the following games that I do believe that will be the most intriguing and the most interesting for this upcoming college football season. That is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. There's our host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.